There I am.
Hey, Todd, how are you
Hey,
today?
good, Keith. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Todd.
Not sure why my video's not showing. Let me see.
All right.
There
Oh
we
yeah,
go. There.
good to see
All
you.
right. You too.
So it's your start of your day. So how's it going?
Oh yeah, I've been at it for, a couple 2.5 hours, and I run a manufacturing company for a living,
Oh,
and we are seeing it's a very disrupted market right now. Our orders are finally starting to go up. We manufacture bar and restaurant equipment, so out of stainless steel.
yeah.
And obviously, during the shutdowns, our orders went low. Well, now the orders have started to get back up. They're not as where they were, but the problem we're having now is sourcing material because we
Yeah.
can't get the material. And then we're seeing a lot of price increases. So now I'm having to have an emergency mid-year price increase. So yeah, I'm in a in a tough spot. A lot of stress at work right now.
Yeah. Good, good. And and
But
Todd,
but at least there's some music. That's a good thing, right?
yeah, that's so amazing. So it's like I saw you back in the days in The Voice, and it's good to see you in.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
So, Todd, so this is your debut solo album, Sonic
Yeah.
Healing. So, can you tell me a bit about the writing process and the production behind it?
Yeah, essentially, I wanted to put out something, in the rock vein of things, and I really didn't want to do, I'd done like 7 heavy metal albums in the last 10 years or
Yeah,
so, between Burning Star and Reverence and Riot. And so I was really wanting to do something that I called old school rock, something kind of classic rock inspired from the days when I was young and,
yeah,
in the late 70s and the
yeah,
early
I do.
80s, I mean, and so I was wanting to do something there. And actually, we jokingly in Riot, because Riot it has such a long history that
Yeah,
we say that Riot has both left and right and up and down music, because the power metal stuff is a da, 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 and the original stuff is more the, left or right sway. And I was wanting to write more of the left or right stuff, I guess you'd say. Um, and so really I had this inspiration for an old school album. I had a bunch of songs written, and I thought, maybe if I could hook up with somebody that plays electric guitar more than I do. I really only play acoustic, and so I'm not very good at the electric. And so I thought maybe we could convert some of my ideas to, old school rock sound. Um, but then when Joe hooked me up with Kurt Vanderhoof from Metal Church,
yeah,
Kurt listened to some of my ideas, but then he decided, let me just start to create some songs, because he and I talked about what to do, and he loves classic rock and so do I. And I think he's like, I think I know where you want to go. Let me just write some songs. And he called me up one day and said, well, I'm going to start. He was busy, finished up some things. He said, I'm going to start. And like a week later, he sent me 5 songs, and then he loaded like another song every day or two for, I don't know, within 21 days he had given me like 18 songs.
wow.
And yeah, it was amazing. And over that same time period, because it was the first part of, it was March and the first part of April last year, so my business was shut down for a few weeks. And um, so I just poured full time into it. So like within, another week after that, I mean, but it was almost like a contest, because I'd be like, well, I just loaded a song for you. Like I would listen to it. I would write vocal melodies and lyrics. I'd record vocals and send them it back. And then he'd say, well, I just loaded one for you. So we just back and forth like that until we had like 15 or 16 songs written. And so it was really magical, actually, because all of the songs are brand new. He listened to my ideas that I had, but he's like, well, we'll come back to those. Well, we never came back to them because we wrote a bunch of new stuff.
Yeah,
And so it's a true collaboration. Everything was created on the spot between Kurt and I, and it was just I've had songs that were real fast before, that came together quick, but never a whole album. I mean, it was amazing.
yeah. I was listening to the whole album, so it was like taking me back to the 80s. That's when I was born. So I was like going back to my childhood days, listening to the bands like Styx, Foreigner, Rio Speedway,
Yes.
all those early bands. So it was like totally amazing, greatly put, magnificent work, I would say. So I really enjoyed the album in the whole. So thank
Well,
you so
thank
much.
you. Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Yeah, I was really going for also like kind of a feel or a spirit on the album because to me back then, the music was all over the radio here in the US and there was just a lot of energy about that music, a lot of positive energy, really. It was just fun. It was just fun to listen to, fun to be around. And so that's what I was going for. I just wanted to have a real positive album and just an overall energetic, experience. So
Sounds good, Todd. And going forward, so do you guys have planned some kind of touring? I'm not sure about what is happening right now in the US. So is it
yeah,
touring allowed there?
I think they're starting, you're starting to see more shows. It's not fully open yet, and there's more in some states than others. I think both Kurt and I would like to because this is the kind of music that I think would go over well live. Also, the approach, even with the way we recorded and produced the album, it's fairly stripped down. There's not a lot of extra guitar layers and extra vocals and this and that. It just sounds like a band rocking out, and so I think it would go over well live. So it really comes down to kind of two things, the COVID situation, but also, if there's a little bit of demand for us to get out and play some shows. But I know both Kurt and I would love to get out and play some shows. So we're hoping.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So how is like things going with Riot? So you guys planning something with Riot anytime soon? About something like a new album, anything that
Yeah. Yeah, we have like, I don't know, 14 or 15 songs, I think, written and in the demo phase. Like I've recorded demo vocals on them. And so right now I'm waiting to get I think just some final guitars have to get done so they can send me more of a final mix for me to record my vocals on. The guys got a little discouraged, when everything shut down because, we put a lot of effort into writing an album and we want to be able to play some shows after we release it. So I think it's almost like we pushed the pause button a little bit with Riot. I know Donnie and Mike, did because they just, I don't know. Obviously, there's certain things you get busy, trying to just make your way and make a living in a crazy environment. I know it was tough for Mike to figure things out, because he gives guitar lessons, so he had to figure out a new way to do that. And I know he does them virtual now, and he even does home inspections and stuff, and that was just made more difficult through all of this. And, so that's that. I think, like I said, it was hard to focus on music full time for a lot of the guys. But at the same time, I think they got a little discouraged, feeling like they wouldn't be able to go play shows anyway. So I think we'll probably have something ready in 2022 because I imagine we're not going to play any shows until, the summer of 2022 would be my guess.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And so how do you started getting into the music thing? So you got amazing voice, I would say. So it was really amazing to hear your voice. So how did it all started for you?
Well, I mean, I've been singing really forever. I don't know. I've always liked to sing, and so even when I was a little kid, I would sing. I remember when I was in kindergarten, my mom said the teacher told her that I had a good voice and that I could sing in key nicely. A lot of times little kids don't sing in key so well. And so she suggested that, she give me piano lessons, which I did. I took piano when I was about nine till about 13, but I wasn't very serious about it. I was wanting to do little young boy things instead. So I didn't practice a lot. And then my older brother, John, he always had bands going. And when I was 15 years old, I actually got in a band with my brother. And that's when I played out for the first time. So that was like, I don't know, I think it was the beginning of 1985, I think, would be the first time I played out. So it's been an awful long time. So, that kind of got me started on it. And so I was pretty serious with it for about 10 years. And then, but I'd gone to school and stuff and finished college. And then I ended up, I took a break for a little while to focus on work and focus on family. And then I started back up again around 2004, 2005 when I got in Burning Star. And So then it just got started. I ended up doing an album with them, and then another album, and then I formed Reverence and did a couple albums with them, and another album with Burning Star, an album with Riot, another album with Riot. Just kind of kept going from there. So the funny part is I think when I was younger, I thought I would, I mean, what was tough for me is committing to music full time because I felt like music was not real secure, and I wanted to, I knew I wanted to eventually have a family and stuff like that. So I wanted to have a job where I could support my family. Um, so, so the way it worked for me is after I got myself established with my career and everything, it seemed like the opportunities for music opened up, and that's at a time when I have more flexibility. I've been working in the company 30 years full time now, so it's like I've got a little bit of, I'm well established, I guess you'd say. And so now I have the flexibility to be able to go play some shows and do some things. So it's kind of nice. I mean, in one way, I didn't become the big rock star I wanted to when I was a little kid, but at least I'm getting a little bit of a taste of it now, I'm certainly not well known, but I get to play some fun shows, and that's the most important part. And I think I have it at a level that that's good for me, because I wouldn't want to be gone from my family all the time. So, but a little bit's nice. So, to play some shows. So that's the position I'm in now.
Gotcha. Good, good, good. So going forward, so would you be making more solo albums in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly would. I mean, I've actually released more solo music. Like I actually had I have a first solo album really. It's called Letters from India. And my wife is from the northeastern part of India.
Wow.
And yeah, she's from Nagaland.
Oh,
And yeah, and I met her as a pen pal way back in 1993. And we corresponded for years, and I actually, just as friends, but I actually flew there to meet her in like 1996, and again in 97. I asked her to marry me then, and then again and again and again. Finally, on the sixth trip, we got married in Kathmandu, Nepal, actually. And so I actually released an album in 2017 called Letters from India, but I released it independently. And it wasn't rock and roll. It was like piano only ballads and real light pop. But it was basically a gift to my wife, and all the proceeds went to a local charity that in the area. And so technically speaking, that was my first solo album. But this one on Rat Pack is kind of the first, I would say, it's kind of rock and roll, Todd, that solo album, so kind of more serious, I guess you would say. So yeah, so along those lines, yeah, I mean, it's weird. I had like a very productive period. Like after I released that first solo album, I wrote about 25, 30 songs. And I actually released some songs digitally in 2019, but once again, it was just independent stuff, and I really didn't promote it. I just kind of threw it out there. And I have a feeling there'll be more of those. I've been strangely not as creative lately, and because I just don't have time. You need some stillness in order to, so I mean, obviously I wrote this album with Kurt, but as far as just sitting with myself at the piano or at the keyboard and melodies pop into my head and turning them into finished songs, what I have is I have little bits and pieces, but I can't concentrate enough to finish anything right now. But I did tell Kurt, I'm like, hey, it's been a year, so we need to start up again. So I'm gonna see if I can talk him into starting up again, see if we can repeat the magic and get a whole nother album written, because I'm really enjoying this one. I'm really proud of it, and I would like to try it again with Kurt and see what happens, because it was very magical to work with him. So
yeah, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. And how has the road been for you so far?
I fortunately I don't spend a lot of time on the road. I mean, if with Riot, we were kind of averaging about 6 to 8 weeks out of the year, and not always at once. So it hasn't been too bad. I haven't had to leave my family so much that it was very problematic. The longest tour we've had that was consecutive was in 2018. We had a month-long tour where we opened up with Primal Fear, and we did 25 shows across Europe. It was over the course of 30 days. And that was actually my first tour bus tour, because most of the stuff we do with Riot, we fly in You
Yeah.
take shuttle bus, you get back to the airport, next morning you fly out, you should fly shows. But this was actual tour bus where they had like, oh God, how many was it? They had, 16 bunks up top. Yeah, they had 16 bunks up top of the tour bus. And yeah, you had the two bands and crew, and you had this little coffin-like thing to sleep in. It's very small. But actually, I was worried about that. I was like, man, am I going to be able to sleep on the bus? And I was paranoid. But actually, I found it very nice because when you do the fly-in shows, you have to leave very early to catch your next airplane. And so usually you don't get back to the hotel room till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I usually have trouble falling asleep because I'm so wired, from the show. And then you have a lobby call at 6 a.m. So you get like a 2 hours of sleep. Whereas on the tour bus, I wouldn't really get on the bus until it was leaving. I would stay in the dressing room or whatever. I just hang out. And so I would get on the tour bus probably about 2 o'clock in the morning or so, sometimes a little later. And then the tour bus would drive until we got to the next show, and then it would just park there. And then I didn't have to get up until I really wanted to. Like, we didn't have sound check till late in the afternoon. So I would just get up in time to have maybe lunch, kind of a late breakfast or a lunch. So I wouldn't even roll into the venue until noon or 1 o'clock. And so I was getting a lot of really good sleep. I would take a melatonin, and I was worried about me getting motion sickness. So I took like a Dramamine. I would take those at night, and it would knock me out, and I would just get lots of sleep. So actually, I really enjoyed the tour bus. I mean, it worked real well for me. I got a lot more sleep that way. So, and if you for singing, the sleep is really important. So.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So talking about your the voice thing. So I'm not a big fan of all these shows like The Voice or the British Got Talent and all this stuff. But when I see somebody come and making some rock or metal kind of stuff, so I do enjoy it. So how is your feeling when you get into the voice thing?
Yeah, that's kind of the challenge. And I can be the same way too, because sometimes, well, I love the voice, but I love to see the performances. And a lot of times there's a lot of talking, and it's almost easier to watch the performances on YouTube or something. But it's a very pop-based show. And so I think for me, I've watched some of the shows in the past. I guess the reason The Voice appealed to me is I like I like the way they operated, and I just thought, it'll be fun. I thought, what the heck, I was going to be 50 years old, and I thought, see what it's like, and they had an open call audition, and you always have that thing in the back of your mind, like, I wonder if I could get on, and I did, so it was kind of cool, and so just getting to experience, like I didn't figure it was going to change. I'm pretty well set in my career at work. I didn't figure that would change, but I figured, well, I'll get some cool exposure and, maybe some musical opportunities, some doors will open. And it turned out that everyone associated with the show was really nice, really friendly, very supportive. Some of the reality shows, they try to pit people against each other and cause drama. And there was none of that. And what was really an interesting surprise too is just all the other contestants. I made really good friends with a lot of people, and so yeah, I mean, overall, it was just a really neat experience. And I think ultimately, I just really wanted a chance to sing Jukebox Hero on national TV and hit some of those high notes at the end. And
That's amazing.
that was my main thing. I'm like, I just want to do that, and like, boom, I'm done. But I got to perform 2 more times after that, so it's kind of nice. I got 3 performances on national TV and got to be exposed to millions of people. Really, when you think about it, it just kind of blows your mind. And I kind of wish like those millions of people would come with me and I'll buy my solo album, but it's hard because you don't, it's all part of the voice thing. Like, you don't drag those people all with you, but it's fine. A lot of people really got touched by it and liked it. And so it's nice to still hear from people that they liked it. So.
Sounds good. So in future for your solo band, so if you want to share stage with some of your favorite bands, so what would be that be?
Oh, you mean to play with them or something like that? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, to me, you know, there's so many great bands out there, but certainly, someone like Iron Maiden, who they're just such an institution, there's such a legacy. And when they go play, it's, a ton of people. I mean, something like that would be fun, just to get to play for those huge crowds. But at the same time, I mean, I think I might almost prefer like maybe a smaller band where people would appreciate the opener, because that's one of the troubles is sometimes you open up for a big band like Iron Maiden and people don't even show up for the
Yeah.
opener band,
Are you
They
getting
don't
booed?
even, yeah, they don't even pay any attention. It's like, oh, who's that? So maybe, the one thing I would say is I love to play the big shows because I've played some big shows. But what I find is the somewhat smaller shows where it's like say 500 to 1,000 people, shows in that size, the intimacy and the people are real close to the stage. I
Yeah.
find that the energy of those is pretty nice, because some of the other ones, the big ones, the people are pretty far away from the stage, and I mean they're both great. Don't get me wrong, but I would say with this album and my solo stuff, it'd be nice to just play some clubs, maybe 500 to 1,000 people, and play with a nice headliner band. That and I'm trying to think of who one would be, but I don't know. Maybe go out with Miles Kennedy or something and get to open for him or something. I think something like that would be kind of cool.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And Todd, finally, do you have a message for your fans around the world?
I've just been so blessed with my life and the opportunities that I've had, and really when I look at music, and how it's been for me, like a lot of times I'll say that music has kind of been the soundtrack of my life in a way. And there are albums and bands that I can think back on, and when I think of that album, it transports me to a time in my life when that album was really important to me. And to this day, I listen to it and it puts a smile on my face, or it takes me somewhere. And that's the gift of music, to me. And really for my solo stuff, I'm really just, I have this kind of fantasy that I could maybe be that for other people, kind of give back in that way, and maybe create an album that kind of fits into someone else's life and becomes that kind of album that they look back on with really fond memories. So that's kind of my hope. And obviously you want the numbers to be huge. You want to feel like you reach millions and millions of people. But at the same time, I mean, I'm just so thankful for all the people that reach out and that touch me. And I have had people from India and South Korea and Japan and South America and stuff, and they'll direct message me on Instagram or Facebook or something. And it's just really touching. So I just want to thank all the people, when they tell me that they're listening and my music's reached them, it really warms my heart and just gives me lots of joy. So I just thank you very much.
That's beautiful, Todd. And Todd, in future, do you plan to come back to India and do some music over here?
I would love to. I've actually been to India like 20 times or more.
Oh,
So my wife's family is still there. And we usually visit about once a year. Like my daughter is just turning 18 and she's been there like 16 or 17 times. So she's been there. She was there for the first time when she was like, I don't know, well, probably 9 months old. And my son was there for the first time when he wasn't even born, because he was in my wife's belly when he was there. So, and I have another daughter who's turning 11. She's been there like 10 times. So no, I love India. I love going there. I actually do some business there too, because I have a distributor that sells some of our bar equipment, and he's in Delhi. So I have a great fondness for India. India was, when I went there in '96, it was the first country I'd ever visited outside the US other than Canada. But to me, that almost doesn't count. And when I visited India, the sights, the sounds, the smells, I mean, India is just, it's overwhelming in a way to someone that is only used to the United States. And it really opened my eyes. It really did two things. It made me very appreciative of India and other cultures, but it also made me really appreciate the US too, like in a good way. But man, I've been all around. I've been to Delhi, and I've been to Mumbai, and certainly been to Nagaland many times, and so it's a wonderful culture. I've often thought that it'd be really fun there to go there and play music, and I don't know if I'll ever get that opportunity. It is interesting. There's some great metalheads though.
Yeah, there a lot. We had Metallica came over here. We had Iron Maiden. We had great lot of bands. Even Deep Purple came and played. When I was a kid, Deep Purple came and played. So it would be amazing if we could come and play here.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I know like the band Striper, if you're familiar with them, they played. I know they played up in Nagaland. So so that was interesting too. Yeah, I would absolutely love to. And actually, I did do some music when I was there because it's been a few years now. But if you look up my YouTube channel, I actually filmed. I have a song called Resurrection Power, and some fellow musicians in Nagaland joined with me, and we filmed it at a cafe, and we played it live right there. We set some microphones up and played the song live, and had a couple guitar players and a guy on I always forget what the little box is called, but it sounds like a bass drum and a snare, but it's just this little box you hit, you know. And yeah, I mean, so you'll have to look up that video if you haven't seen it, but that was filmed right in Kohima in Nagaland. So no, I'd love to come back. I'd love to play a show there. I think that'd be incredible. And I definitely will be back. That we're real bummed about this COVID stuff because we
now it's crazy out here. Crazy out here. Again, the lockdown has come back again, so it's all shut down for now.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, so we're just hoping, you know. I know I got my vaccine. My wife, she's a little more she has some allergy issues, so she's a little more paranoid to take the vaccine, but I just told her, yeah, we'll probably need to be in a spot where we have to in order to be able to travel. I don't know where they're at with that, you know. So I'm hoping soon, because we miss our family there too. And it's I definitely enjoy India. Which part are you from then?
I live in the deep south in the Indian Ocean, the bottom of the country. So it's a very nice place. It's very close to Kerala, and it's very deep down. I just look very close to the ocean.
Yeah, that's the one part I haven't. That's one part I haven't been to. I kind of have a fantasy about going there. I've heard that Goa is interesting, and I know there's places like Shimla too, where it's like up in the mountains. So yeah, what's difficult for me is when I first started going there, I would tour around a little bit, but now my family's there, and so I only get there once a year, and I'll be there for about 2 weeks. But the challenge is, it's kind of hard to go visit my family and say, okay, we'll see you later. I'm going to go to Kerala, you know. I don't think they're going to put up with that. I think they're going to want me to stay with them. So, although we did go to, 2018 or 19, excuse me, we visited, oh my God, the country that's just north, the little one, the little tiny kingdom. Bhutan. Yeah. Bhutan, yes. We visited Bhutan, and then after we were done with that, we flew in, and we spent some time in the northern part of India. I'm forgetting the name of the town, but it was
Sikkim or something.
Yeah, it wasn't up in the mountains. It was a bigger city, and oh my God,
or probably Guwahati or Assam.
Yeah, it was something in Assam, but I don't think it was Guwahati, but maybe it was. I've been to Guwahati. I've been to, obviously a land. Yeah. It wasn't Shillong either. Yeah, I'm totally forgetting. You know what it was is we only had like a week, and so we flew into this place because trying to get to Nagaland would have taken so long that we just hung out there. But I don't think it was Guwahati. It was another time. My wife's gonna kill me. I can't believe I can't remember, but it was just a city. We just rented a house and hung out there for the week, and it was hot. It was like really hot. It was in March or whatever, and it was really hot. And so we just stayed in the air conditioning mostly. So, but yeah, I'll definitely be back there. I'd like to visit the South, though. I'd love to see what it's like.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's a nice place. I can show you around whenever you are here.
That would be great. Nice.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time today. It was really a pleasure seeing you today here.
Oh, it was nice seeing you too, Keith. I really appreciate you taking the time to do the interview too. So
thank you so much, and take care and have a good day.
All right, you too.
Yeah, bye.
Namaste.
Namaste. Bye-bye.